I'd like to welcome to the Metal Shop 101, Christian Shields. What's going on, Christian?
What's going on? Thanks for having me.
Hey, no problem. Tell us about Christian Shields. How did you get started in music? I mean, did you come from a musical family or what got you started?
Well, and I started at a very young age. I wouldn't necessarily say I came from a musical family. I mean, there was definitely people in the family that played music, but I wouldn't say there was many musicians. And I originally started, and I don't know why, 'cause this is too far back to remember, but when I was in first grade, so when I was 5 or 6, I played clarinet. That was the
Okay.
first instrument I started with. But then what really got me into rock and roll and playing music was when I was about 11 years old. There was My dad had this bootleg tape. He was a huge Kiss fan. He had this bootleg tape of a concert that they did on the Love Gun tour, and that was September 2nd, 1977, at the Summit in Houston. It was the second show, and I remember it because when he put this tape on, we were watching it. I was completely blown away by the performance, and I was like, I want to do that. So then I
Right.
traded in the clarinet for a guitar on my 12th birthday, and then, went through many iterations of being in bands and all that stuff. And with this project, I just decided that, I was over the band thing and kind of wanted to do something where I was more of the executive so I could kind of steer the ship more in a
Right.
forward direction. Unfortunately, in a band, democracy is overrated. So,
Right.
it's kind of how I got started and kind of how it ended up where it is today. And obviously, many, many steps in between. It would take me, eventually I'll write a book or something about it.
Right. But it seems like Kiss got everybody started, everybody I talked to lately, especially with the passing of Ace Frehley. I mean, how do you feel about that?
Um, it's definitely surreal and strange. You know, I mean, I know people get old and all that stuff, but it feels still too soon
Right.
for Ace. And it's like watching, a cultural I mean, it is a cult. He is a cultural icon.
Right.
It's like watching our heroes, go away, and all we have is their memory. But there's like not anybody coming up really to replace them.
Right.
I mean, you'll never replace them, but
Well, we got Christian
there's
Shields
nobody.
coming up.
Oh, yeah, hopefully I can be the guy. What I mean is like, think of it like a relay race, like who they passing the baton to, and
Right.
I mean, there's a few guys, hopefully myself included, but we'll have to see.
Right. Hey, let's talk. You put out an album
Mhm.
in what, 2020? This is
Yes.
rock and roll. And I'll tell you what, I listened to that album from beginning to end the other day
Mhm.
here at the studio, and it just rocks, man. I
Thank you.
mean, just awesome rock and stuff. And I have to say, and you probably get this a lot, but I have to say, "Lie to Me" is probably one of my favorites on there. Pretty cool tune. Can you tell us a little bit about that song?
Um, well, Lie to Me. I'm glad that's one of your favorite. To me, I just like when I wrote that song, I was thinking it from the perspective of more of like relationship stuff, like
Right.
how people will be in a relationship and be and they don't want to necessarily know the truth. They want to believe like what's in front of them, but it kind of became an ambiguous message or universal message where it could actually apply to not necessarily relationship. It
Right.
could apply to all kinds of things,
Right.
and so I really like that song, and I think it's cleverly written in its simplicity. Not to pat myself on the back, but because of you can really apply it to a multitude of topics,
Right.
and the result is still the same.
Right. And then I would have to go with rock and roll.
Rock and roll, yes. That's the basic story of everybody that wants to be a rock star. Rock and roll is all I know. 9 to 5 is not for me. You
Right. Exactly. So, and now you got this new single out, which is absolutely killer. I
Thank you.
think Falls Like Rain.
Fall like rain, yes.
Yeah, Falls Like Rain or Fall Like Rain.
Mhm.
Absolutely killer, man.
Thank you.
Can you tell us a little story about that one?
Well, that song is actually, so my
It's
guitar
pretty
player and I,
powerful.
yes, and it's from personal experience. And my guitar player and I, um, interestingly enough, we're both going through a similar relationship scenario around the same time. So not only was I able to write the song from my perspective, but also I had influence from him from what he was going through.
Right.
So it kind of, was kind of like the perfect storm of inspiration for the topic behind the song. And so when I sat down to write the lyrics, it was pretty succinct and easy as to what the story of the song was going to be.
Right. You can actually, I mean, when you watch the video quite a few times. When you watch the video, you can see how powerful it is. I mean, it's amazing. So,
Well, it's definitely because it's personable to both him and I because
right,
of you know that's Marshall Benson, my guitar player. Um, it's very personal to him and I because it's from experience,
right.
and you can't fake and you can't teach experience.
No. And I always say, and I tell my listeners this all the time, and I'm sure you'll agree with me, is music's a powerful tool. It
Yes.
can get you through the good times and it can get you through the lowest of times. It's a good way to express your feelings or whatever, you know. And it's powerful. People nowadays with AI and everything, just plugging a bunch of stuff into a computer. Hey, I wrote a song. No, it doesn't have that human connection.
Well, we can go down a whole rabbit hole on AI if you would like, but with music, music is supposed to make you feel something,
Right,
and if you don't feel those goosebumps on your arms, or
right,
if you don't feel it, then you know, I mean, again, it's not for everybody, but when you can feel those things, especially yourself as an artist or as a musician that's creating the songs, I really think you have something there.
right. Well, since we're on the subject, what's your take on AI hitting into the music business?
I know a lot of people are scared of it and see it as a threat, just like the same thing with streaming.
Right,
Now, I just think it's another tool that people can use. Um, yes, there'll be AI music and there'll be a market for it, and people will listen to it. And some of it is really good. And but there will still be a market for human-made real music as well.
right,
Like these things can coexist. Um, Now, what I foresee happening is, especially maybe Spotify. I wouldn't necessarily say so much Apple Music yet, but I would see this. I would see the streaming services would probably start pushing AI music because they
right,
can make it in house, and that means they can cut out more of the middlemen when it comes to marketing and promotion, and
right,
they can make money off of the AI music. And I know a lot of people say that they're going to be cooked because they'll use it for music and movies and all this stuff, but maybe that's true, maybe that's not. That remains to be seen. But I tend to not have such a fatalistic view of it. It's kind of like it's just a tool because if you look all back through history of the music industry, every decade or every certain period of time, there was always a new thing that was going to dethrone this or dethrone
right,
that, and my thing is always you either evolve or you die. So you just gotta adapt, overcome, work with it. I'm not scared of AI. It's a tool,
right,
and you could probably, like anything else with a tool, you can use it to create or you can use it to destroy. So
right,
hopefully more people will use it to create than to destroy things.
right. So with this new single you have out, "Falls Like Rain," in your previous album, you kept it true to rock and roll roots, which I think is awesome because I feel that the music business got stale there for a while. Everything was starting to sound the same. But, I've noticed with upcoming artists such as yourself and, a lot of other people, they're going back to that old school vibe. What's your take on that?
Well, I mean, again, that could all be perception, but a lot of people, not to go on an aside here, they always forget music business is two words, and they always forget about that second word business. So in the case of a lot of things sounding the same, well, the music industry, they're trying to make money. So if this particular thing is selling, they're going to keep giving you more of that until it doesn't sell as much, and then maybe you'll get something new.
Right.
So to your other part of the question about people going back to rock stuff, I don't necessarily think that people are going back to it. It always existed. It's just that things are in cycles, and
Right.
there's just people are there's like a big nostalgia thing, especially in 2025. Like people are yearning for the old times, so to speak. But I just think it never really went away. And,
Right.
for me, I can only speak for me personally. My roots are in classic rock. And when I tried to because I played in bands with like newer styles of music, if you want to call it that. But to me, it felt disingenuous. It didn't feel authentic to me, and I wasn't enjoying performing. So to me, especially with the Christian Shields band, to help with how it got started, is I wanted to be authentic to me and to my roots. And
Right.
me, I grew up on classic rock. That's not to say that I don't like other styles of music.
Right.
I listen to everything. You got to. There's a term in the music industry. We call it sleeping around with other genres. You kind of want to, you want to, because you'll even hear like, Def Leppard when they talk about Rocket, like he heard like that shuffle indigenous drum beat, and that's how they got the drum beat, and it became an awesome rock song. So I'm
Right.
saying there's all these elements that you don't get unless you go to the buffet, so to speak. So I just think that people move around, and humans, they it's kind of like when you eat too much of the same meal, you get sick of it and you want something else. Um,
Right.
Not to make a long answer to your short question,
Oh no, that's
but
good.
I just think that for this, it just felt right to go back to the roots of what I grew up on. It's the style of music to me. It suits me, my personality, and it's what I find the most comfortability
Right.
in.
Right.
And maybe I'll go outside my comfort zone a little bit. That's what you hire producers and all these other folk for. But for me, I just start with a core, basic, four on the floor rock song, and then we let it develop from there.
Right. Who all do you have in the band? Who's all in the band?
So it's me, and then I have my guitar player Marshall Benson, my bass player Jake Allard, and then my drummer Rom Gov.
Okay. So with the release of Falls Like Rain, are you in the process of working on a full length album like you did in 2020, or are you just gonna keep releasing singles?
As of now, the plan is to keep releasing singles. I don't want to rule out doing another album, but I just don't think right now, especially economics, because again, you got to use that second word business. Um, it doesn't make sense financially to do a record at this stage. So most likely, or I should say, for right now, and again, people get mad when people change their minds or change things, but again,
Right.
we're
Right.
allowed to do so. But I'm saying, as of right now, it's just going to be singles. So there will be another single coming. I just not putting a definitive on anything until it happens. I don't like to say things until they happen.
Right. How is Fall Like Rain been accepted? I mean, is it doing well for you?
I think so. I think the fans really like it. See, it's tough to gauge in on the internet because you're competing with a lot of these social media platforms, especially ones that have a free tier. There's a lot of bots. A lot of people fake their numbers. They buy their likes. They
Right.
buy their views. They buy their Spotify plays. So it's kind of tough to gauge, right? And it can be disheartening because you'll see this thing certainly seemingly come out of nowhere, and a lot of times, it's artificial. And this has been going on for a long time. Even
Right.
record labels have done this stuff where they'll artificially prop up views and stuff. Now I might get in trouble for saying that, but it is
Right.
what it is.
Right.
So I would say I think it's doing well. I haven't seen any negative feedback or reviews about it. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I accept all, but I just think that the fans really enjoy it. And when we played it live, it got a great response. And again, I think now because of a lot of people will give up on a song after like a week or so because like you get the initial pump and then the drop off. But
Right.
as you saw with like recently, a lot of these classic rock titles reappearing in the top 20 on the Billboard, for example, again, it's a cycle thing. So, and because of the internet, everything's relevant at all times. So I
Right.
don't necessarily believe in this touring or album cycle thing anymore. Like,
Right.
you know what I mean? That was artificially made up as a business practice. I think that anything, even if it was a song that came out in 1975, it is still new to people who haven't heard it.
Right.
So the best advice I've gotten from my producer is he said, well, maybe 10,000 people have heard Fall Like Rain, but you know who hasn't heard it? 8 billion other people on the earth.
Right.
So as far as I'm concerned, you have to just keep promoting it. But I think it's been going over well, and it just continues to grow.
Right. Very cool. All right, I got one more question for you, Christian, and I'll let you
Right.
go. Do you have any advice for upcoming artists?
My advice would be true to yourself and authentic. My rule that I made for myself is it's going to be fun for me or I'm not doing it. Now, obviously, you've got to have common sense, and I would just say do what feels right, and don't let people pressure you into doing things you don't want to do, and don't feel obligated to do things because you think it might get you an opportunity, or if you don't do it you might miss out on an opportunity. It's when I put my head on the pillow at night, I want to be able to sleep like so soundly and not go, oh man, whatever.
Right.
Sometimes you do make a decision and you can kind of kick yourself in the ass on it, but that's life. You make a
R-
decision, you got to stick with it.
That's
So
it.
that's my advice.
All right. You have any upcoming shows?
So currently, I have nothing scheduled. I mean, unfortunately, it seems like the end of this year kind of slowed down a little bit, but obviously, I'm working on some stuff. So when I have something to announce, I'll announce it.
Okay.
So we'll see about for 20. It looks like the page is getting turned to 2026. And also, like I said, definitely be back in the studio soon to try to get, well, not try, but to do another single at least. Yeah, so that's currently what we got going on.
All right. Hey, Christian, thanks for taking the time out and
Thank
coming
you.
on the show. Can you
Of
tell the
course.
people where they can find your music and everything?
All right. So ChristianShields.net is the website, Facebook.com/Christian Shields Live, X.com/She Shields Live, Instagram at Christian Shields Live, TikTok at Christian Shields Live, or you can find me on all platforms, Spotify, Apple Music, the internet. So Google me. I'll come up for a search, I promise. And I always forget to say this, but I'm gonna start saying this. You guys are my record label. You can join my Patreon, get access to exclusive content that nobody else can get, behind the scenes stuff, seeing new songs I'm working on before anybody else. That's patreon.com/Christian Shields. Become a member today.
Boy, that's pretty good. You remembered all that.
You gotta do the shtick. Again, I don't forget about that second word.
Right.
Music business.
That's it.
I don't go music. What's that second word? No, I almost push the business word more forward. So I don't forget about both of them. You gotta have both.
That's it. All right, Christian. Hey, thanks a million, man. We will keep pushing Fall Like Rain here at the Metal Shop 101 and your other album, too. We'll keep pushing it.
Thank you.
So, all right,
Thank you,
man.
Doc. I appreciate you having me today.
Okay, no problem, buddy. I'll talk to you soon. All right.
All right.
Bye bye.